All the latest on the Thomas Frank situation. David Ornstein from The Athletic has stated it is a matter of when, not if, he will go. And the Times newspaper have stated that it is expected that Thomas Frank will take charge of the Tottenham Hotspur training session on Monday at 2:15pm at Hotspur Way in front of the media ahead of the Borussia Dortmund game on Tuesday. He will also hold his press conference on Monday afternoon at 3:30. Hi everyone, hope you're well. Chris Cowlin here. This is another edition of Tottenham News, where I'll be going through all of the latest Spurs news, rumours and reports. If you're watching on YouTube, please do hit that subscribe button, like, share and comment below. And if you're listening to this on an audio platform, please do hit that follow button and leave a review if you can. So this episode is all about the latest on Spurs boss Thomas Frank. BBC Sport has stated that Thomas Frank is under significant internal scrutiny, with the club considering calling time on his 7-month reign. At least one member of the club's executive team has actively raised the option of ending Frank's reign in recent weeks. Saturday's home defeat by West Ham United means his position is now under threat as the club's hierarchy weighs up whether they should move immediately or give Frank a chance to turn things around. On Sunday morning, Thomas Frank turned up for work nice and early. Vinay Venkatesham was also seen going into Hotspur Way nice and early. Thomas Frank, of course, is preparing for the Borussia Dortmund game on Tuesday evening. The squad will train in front of the media on Monday afternoon. Frank will then have his press conference Monday afternoon, as well as a Spurs squad member. Now, Spurs are 11th in the Champions League table. Dortmund are 10th. Both teams have 11 points from 6 games. Dortmund's record in the Bundesliga this season is quite incredible. Played 18, won 11, drawn 6 and lost only 1. David Ornstein from The Athletic, talking about the Thomas Frank situation. He has stated it is a crucial situation for Thomas Frank and Tottenham Hotspur. As things stand, he remains in position and Tottenham play in the Champions League against Borussia Dortmund on Tuesday, so possibly he gets to take charge of that game. There is still a lot of goodwill behind Thomas Frank internally at Tottenham. They want him to succeed, but I think there is also a great deal of realism too. Ornstein then went on to say there's an acceptance that may not happen, which makes me think it's just a matter of when, not if, he will go. Of course, there is a chance of a dramatic upturn, but I think that is looking improbable, especially when the fans have turned against him and the hierarchy. Also, from what we hear, many players are understandably dissatisfied, feeling that not that Thomas Frank is out of his depth, but perhaps he wasn't the right fit for the job. Now, the Times newspaper have just stated that Thomas Frank is due to take training on Monday, which will be open to the media for 15 minutes from 2:15pm, and then he will attend his usual pre-match press conference with a player at 3:30pm. Club sources would not confirm on Sunday evening whether Thomas Frank would be fulfilling those duties at their Hotspur Way training ground. The Times newspaper have also stated that Spurs have been determined to give Thomas Frank time, and the club are sympathetic to some of the factors making his job more difficult, such as a lack of leadership and experience in the squad, injuries to attacking players, and upheaval in key positions off the pitch. The Times have also stated the lack of clear alternatives to replace Thomas Frank mid-season is believed to be a part of the club's dilemma, especially as there is a danger that the wrong appointment could push Spurs closer to the relegation zone. Spurs are currently 14th in the Premier League table, 10 points above 18th place West Ham after the defeat on Saturday, and interim appointments at the club have not gone well in recent seasons. Italian journalist and transfer expert Fabrizio Romano has stated that Tottenham tried to show support to Thomas Frank, but of course over the weekend Tottenham have lost again. Now the situation is very, very complicated for Thomas Frank and the club. His job is at serious risk. So let's see what happens in the next hours and days, but the situation of Thomas Frank at Tottenham is not safe at this stage. They could change the manager. Let's see if it's going to be now or if they will give him an opportunity to try to turn around the situation. But the situation is very tense for Thomas Frank and Tottenham. TalkSport has stated it is understood that former boss Mauricio Pochettino would be open to a return to Tottenham Hotspur after leading the USA at this summer's World Cup. Pochettino's longest stint on the touchline for a club was with Tottenham, where he managed 293 games. He won 159 of them, drawing 62 and losing 72 across 5 years. Now, a number of stats have appeared online. Now, Tottenham manager win percentage since 2008. Redknapp, 49%. AVB, 54%. Sherwood, 59%. Pochettino, 56%. Mourinho, 47%. Nuno Espirito Santo, 50%. Conte, 57%. Postecoglou, 41%. And Frank is the lowest with 32%. More stats have been published stating that Thomas Frank has the worst Premier League home win percentage of any Spurs manager since 2008, and it is just 18.2%. Sherwood is top of the list, 72.7%. Conte, 71.4%. Pochettino, 64.4%. Nuno Espirito Santo, 60%. Harry Redknapp, 57.9%. Jose Mourinho, 57.1%. Ryan Mason, 57.1%. AVB, 51.9%. Ange Postecoglou, 50%. Christian Stellini, 50%. And Thomas Frank, 18.2%. Now, new Tottenham Hotspur signing, 19-year-old Brazilian left-back Sousa hasn't been officially announced yet, but he was watching the game between Spurs and West Ham at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium on Saturday. He was also seen heading into the Spurs dressing room to meet his new teammates and, of course, Spurs boss Thomas Frank after the defeat. Now for some Spurs women news. Now Martha Thomas has joined Liverpool on loan for the remainder of the 25-26 campaign. And on Sunday, the Spurs women were in action in the FA Cup at Brisbane Road, beating Leicester City 3-0. Now, Oliver Iro, currently on loan from Tottenham to Mansfield Town. He made his debut for Mansfield on Saturday, coming off the bench and scoring a brace in a 3-0 home win against Port Vale. Now, my thoughts on everything in this episode, and of course, it is all about Thomas Frank. Will he stay at Tottenham? Will he go? And do you know what? I completely agree with David Ornstein from The Athletic. It is a matter of when, not if he will go. I feel like Thomas Frank's days at Tottenham are numbered, and it is just a matter of time now. I do expect him to go out the door in the very, very near future. Now, earlier on today, I did a interview with TalkSport, so rather than repeat myself, have a watch, have a listen of my interview and let me know if you agree with what I said or whether you disagree with some of the points that I put across.
Does mean that Thomas Frank is the most likely manager to lose his job. Let's have a listen to what he said after defeat to West Ham yesterday.
And there is the full-time whistle. Loud boos ring out here at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. It is a damaging London derby defeat for the under-fire Thomas Frank.
See a game where, of course, it's hugely emotional, tough to lose a game like that last minute. I think it was very clear also with Vinay's letter that there's a lot of things and changes going in the right direction. We are in transitional season with a super tanker. We're turning around. We still need to win more football matches. We still need to work unbelievable hard to win more games, and we will do that.
I'm a fan of Thomas Frank, as in his future is, it has to be in doubt. It has to be, because they've had a really poor season, and once they lose faith in their manager, Shaban, it's a really tough one to turn.
Yeah, lots of boos at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Let's talk to Chris Cowlin from the Spurs Chat Podcast. Hey, Chris, you okay?
Max Barry, good afternoon.
Hi, Chris. Did you like our choice of, not mine, Max's choice, but I enjoyed it. Green Day's Boulevard of Broken Dreams to soundtrack that little package. Is that what you feel like you're walking down at the moment?
Well, it's very, very tough. It's very, very tough being a Spurs fan right now. The defeats seem to be normal. The boos are very normal at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium right now. It's sad, sad times. We're sitting 14th in the Premier League table. Things aren't getting better. If anything, they're getting worse. People thought that the football would be better under Thomas Frank than Ange Postecoglou last season. Of course, many people within the media, TalkSport spoke about this every day of Spurs finishing 17th, 22 league defeats, not good enough. This season had to be better. The football has been really boring. It has been terrible at times. And I like Thomas Frank as a person, but as a manager, this cannot go on like this because, as I said, defeats seem to be very, very normal right now, and the fan base have really turned. At the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium yesterday, before the full-time whistle, I might add, the fans were singing, you're getting sacked in the morning. And that's where most fans are sitting right now. They want Thomas Frank out. I'm a part of a number of WhatsApp groups, and you go online and everyone is saying the same thing. Has he gone yet? But from what I understand, he's preparing for the Dortmund game on Tuesday. And that Burnley game on Saturday is an absolute must-win, crucial game. Because when we go into February, you look at the fixtures, Manchester United, Manchester City, Newcastle and Arsenal, and we have 3 of those 4 games at home, which is not a good thing for us because, 4 wins out of the last 25 home Premier League games. It is terrible. It's terrible.
Chris, which are Spurs fans more annoyed about? The poor results or the paucity of entertaining football? Or is it just entirely a combination of the two? If you were winning playing unattractive football, would that be acceptable?
We have to see signs. You have to see signs. We understand, any football fan, particularly Spurs fans, will say, look, we've been very patient with a number of managers. We've gone round in circles a lot of times in recent years, certainly 6 different managers, permanent managers since 2019, Pochettino, the new stadium, 3 interim managers. But we've got to see signs of positivity week by week, certainly month by month, game by game. The positive signs just aren't there, and that is what I am really, really worried about. It looks like we are slipping down that table and fast. It seems like we're closer to the relegation zone rather than going for a European spot, which Spurs should always demand to be in a European spot. And the football is really, really poor. It is not entertaining at all. Thomas Frank sets us up more to not lose games rather than, give it a go and win. And, the Tottenham way. Most people support Spurs because of the style of play, the way that we play. And under Thomas Frank, it has been far from entertaining. And, when the boos are ringing out, in the away sections and now even at the home games, the amount of home games we've heard boos at either half-time and full-time, it can't go on like that.
He doesn't set you up very well not to lose as things go, does he?
Exactly.
Can I? I mean, I'm trying to play devil's advocate here. Tottenham are my big team who win things, Chris, and I do really like Thomas Frank, and I think he did a great job at Brentford. And I agree with you. The football is really bad. He does have a really weird squad, right? The attack is weird. Like they all are players with potential, possibly, and maybe but they're this sort of disparate section of players. And you sort of think if he had the attacking force, that if he did have Kulusevski and Maddison, then it's a totally different thing. He'd have, I don't know, they wouldn't be top of the league, but they might have 8 more points, and suddenly Tottenham would be 5th. I don't know, or like he lost all his goals from last season. Son's gone. There's no Johnson, Maddison, Kulusevski, Solanke's just come out. Like, is there an argument to say actually, if you had some half decent attackers, this would be totally different?
Absolutely, and I do agree with some of that, what you said there, Max. But, they're going to be back. We don't know when they're going to be back. Maddison could be right at the end of the season. Kulusevski, we've only just got Solanke back. We've been missing him, all season. So we don't know when these players are going to come back, but you've got to see positive signs. But I'm not putting all of this on Thomas Frank. The board have to show responsibility, and they have to deliver much better in transfer windows. It doesn't matter whether Thomas Frank is the manager here. It could be somebody else. The board have to show ambition. Vinay Venkatesham, in a 2-page message to the fans yesterday in the Matchday programme, identified a number of the problems that we have all said as Spurs fans that need to be addressed, which was a positive sign. But things do need to change. The players also need to take more responsibility. But I do understand, that forward line is not good enough. When you think in recent years we've gone from Harry Kane and Heung-min Son in our forward line to the players now, it is very, very different. Cowlin, of course, is on loan. He can't seem to score a goal in the Premier League for us right now. And it is a mixture of problems. It is just not on Thomas Frank. I do believe a manager should be given time and patience, but sometimes you have to just say that some managers don't fit certain clubs. We know that Thomas Frank is a good manager. He's done a wonderful job at Brentford, but this isn't Brentford, and this is a completely different demand and style at Tottenham, and people aren't enjoying it. The fans aren't enjoying it. Thomas Frank isn't enjoying it. The board aren't enjoying it, and everyone is unhappy.
Sure. I suspect quite a lot of neutrals and Arsenal fans are totally delighted, aren't they? Would you, it's a sample size of 1 in what Michael Carrick has done for Manchester United. We've seen it before with an interim, who knows the club. But would you rather that, the news came out now that Thomas Frank's going, they're getting an interim, and it is Harry Redknapp or Robbie Keane or just, someone with a Spurs connection till the end of the season, and then you'll wait until the World Cup finishes and there'll hopefully be a pick of elite managers?
You've hit the nail on the head. Someone like Robbie Keane or Harry Redknapp, someone who understands the club, knows what is expected at Tottenham, and, someone to come in and give the fan base a huge lift because, like I've said, this football cannot continue this way. And the other thing that I'd say about Thomas Frank is the amount of times he says positive comments about really poor performances. And when you go back to, some of the games, we've had like 1 shot on target, the XG stats, all of these stats don't lie. And can so many people be wrong? I know there are some, there are a few people out there saying, it will work under Thomas Frank, just give him time and patience. But can the majority of people be wrong? Can he survive when the whole stadium is singing you're going to get sacked in the morning? I'm not sure about that.
There were a group of fans protesting outside the ground last night or yesterday, holding up those signs, time for change. They seem to have been directed more at the club hierarchy than Frank. But while the protest was visible, not that many seemed to be taking part in it. I think it was between 50 and 100 fans. So is there a groundswell of opinion against the club hierarchy as well as Frank?
Barry, a lot of pressure needs to be put on this board. As I said, Vinay issued this statement identifying a number of the issues that a lot of us have raised. Tottenham Hotspur fans, the fan advisory board, the supporters trust, of course, Change for Spurs as well, and fair play to them for protesting because people protest in different ways, and people feel wholly that the club need to go in a positive direction and show ambition. In transfer windows, they haven't been good enough in the past. You go back to the words that Mauricio Pochettino said in 2019, you have this mansion, you need to put the furniture in it. And then, of course, you go back to the rant of Antonio Conte, his last press conference as Spurs manager, about things changing. And then only last week, Romero writing online what he did about the board, a huge dig aimed at the board. The board need to step up. A lot needs to change at this football club for us to be successful. And us winning the Europa League in May against Manchester United Bilbao, that was meant to be a springboard of us fighting on all fronts and showing real ambition and being a top 6 club. Because at the moment, Spurs, I was going to say a mid-table club, but we finished 17th last year. We're 14th right now. Who knows where we can end up this season. But I feel like if Spurs make a change now, we could have an opportunity to finish in a European spot and somehow make this season a successful one by playing European football next year, because that's what we demand as Spurs fans. We should always be playing European football.
Oh, Harry Redknapp would be good. And get a midfielder that can pass it forwards. That's the dream, isn't it, Chris? Thanks for your time.
Yeah,
thanks,
you, Chris.
Chris Cowlin there from the Spurs Chat Podcast. Of course, keep you posted on Thomas Frank's future. If anything happens, you will hear about it on TalkSport. Let's get the latest from the Australian Open with TNT.
Thanks for watching and thanks for listening. I hope you enjoyed it. If you're watching on YouTube, please do hit that subscribe button, like, share and comment below. And if you're listening to this on an audio platform, please do hit that follow button and leave a review if you can. Have a good week. I'll see you soon. Keep smiling. Come on, you Spurs.